Should the fact, here's a very interesting one, that I am primarily drawn to religion only when in emotional pain, serve as a flag that my desire for knowing God is only a byproduct of pain? Well, there are many reasons for being drawn to God, and none of them is perfect. And reacting to pain is as good a reason as any. You see, let me step back from this, because hanging behind it is the great white elephant of the Freudian explanation of things, you see, that your religion, yes, of course you believe in God, because poor Irishman that you are, you need some sort of father figure in the sky, and when you get into trouble, he'll emotionally help you. And it's totally obvious why you believe in God. That's the God delusion. But of course that works both ways. As Czesław Miłosz pointed out, who won the Nobel Prize for Literature in Poland, he said atheism is the great delusion. It's the wish fulfillment of not wanting to meet God. You see, let me quote to you the German psychiatrist Manfred Lutz. He's written a brilliant book called Eine kleine Geschichte des Größten. I say it in German because it's not in English yet. It's called A Brief History of the Great One. And he makes the point. He said, if there is no God, then Freud gives you a brilliant explanation of why religion is wish fulfillment, if there is no God. But of course, if there is a God, Freud gives you an equally brilliant explanation why atheism is the wish fulfillment. The thing that Freud can't do is to help you to decide whether there's a God or not. You must look elsewhere. And if I may tell you a slightly amusing incident recently, Stephen Hawking was asked about religion, and he said, religion, it's a fairy story for people afraid of the dark. And the London Times asked me to comment, and I said, do you want a one-liner? Oh, they said, yes, please. So I said, atheism is a fairy story for people afraid of the light. So, coming back to this question, it's okay to be drawn to God by an emotional need of pain and suffering, but it would be wise not to leave it there. In other words, it would be wise to find bigger reason. You see, I'm drawn to doctors by pain and suffering. Do you see what I mean? But that's not the whole of life, is it? And it's just important to realize that if there's a real emotional need, and that emotional need is satisfied by a relationship with God, that's not a proof that it's invalid. It's only invalid if God isn't real, but it's valid if God is real. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's important. But I wouldn't leave it there, because we need to grow up and realize that God is related not just to our needs. He's not like a doctor that we use from time to time. People don't like to be used, do they? You see, the word use of a person is interesting. Kant always said that people should never be regarded as means, but also as ends. Now, there are people we use. I've used quite a few taxi drivers since I've been here in the United States, but I've used their professional. I don't regard them as just object or people to be used, because they've got families and I'll talk to them and so on. And it's very important to realize that God is a person, not a theory. And what he's interested in is a personal relationship with us. And if we're only going to God when we're in trouble, we're treating him as someone to be used, which is okay, but it's not big enough. And until your relationship with God grows through that, you'll not have the confidence in God that you could have, because he'll only be working in a very small area of your experience.